Political power shift in New Britain. Next on the Stan Simpson Show. And welcome to the Stan Simpson Show, a program about Connecticut people and compelling issues. Make it a point to drop it every week. New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart continues to make history in Connecticut politics. 2 years ago, she was sworn in as the state's youngest mayor at 26. Recently re-elected, she is believed to be the youngest female mayor in the country. What makes her political rise fascinating is that she's a Republican in a hard-scrabble city where Democrats outnumber the GOP 6-1. In Stewart's upcoming term, 12 of the 15 city council seats will be controlled by Republicans, a scenario New Britain has not seen in decades. We'll talk to Erin Stewart about what this new political power shift means for hard-hitting New Britain. Then we'll wrap things up with a chat about the power surge on college campuses. Student protests at Missouri and Yale about race issues are creating a stir and resulting in changes. Adrian Cochran, president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Hartford, stops by for a chat. But first, a political power shift in New Britain. Erin Stewart, it's a good time to be you right now. 28 years old, you have pulled off a political coup in this Democratic city. You're in power. You got 12 of the 15 seats Republican. How do you pull this off?
I still can't believe it myself.
It's quite an accomplishment.
This has just been an incredible, it was an incredible campaign, and we worked our tails off. You know, one thing that was different, and you know this, we didn't, everybody that ran on the Republican ticket wasn't necessarily from the Republican Party. So we have Democrats, unaffiliated, and Republicans that are part of Team Stewart.
The fusion ticket, they call it, right?
The fusion ticket.
Right.
We did it 2 years ago, and we did it again. And look, the people in New Britain wanted change on that council. There had been members who had been in that council for over 15 years individually. I mean, the top 4 Democratic leaders had over 75 years of elected office on there, and people were tired of it.
Institutional memory, though, right?
It's true, you know, it is true, and change is good. You know, change is always good. But you know, I am just so excited. I'm so thrilled. Like the people in New Britain, they wanted change on the city council. They sure as heck got it. Even on the Board of Education too. You know, they elected 3 Republican members for the Board of Ed. So it's now a 5-5 tie on the Board of Ed. So that's going to make for some really interesting conversations as well. But I'm really proud of all the work that we've been able to do, and I'm a happy mayor. Yeah,
well, you know what, politically people are watching that. They're saying, who is this Republican mayor? She came in a couple of years back, and you know, you're a rising star right now to pull off that kind of situation with the demographics there. Not everyone can pull it off. So,
and you know what it is? People pay attention, and they read their local newspapers, and they see what's going on. They see the shift, and they see the tide change in the city, and they see that we're doing all of these incredible things and talking positively about New Britain, but we're having so much progress too, and people want to be a part of that. And I kept saying I need a team with me to help me carry out my vision to continue the work we've done, and they gave me that. And now I'm not going to let them down. But I said in my inaugural address, with this much leadership comes a great responsibility with us too, and we're going to have to fulfill that.
You talked about in the inauguration, your dad was there, your mom was there.
Yeah.
What was that like with this finally? Because 2 years ago was sort of, I won't say it was a fluke, but it was a big deal. Now it's sort of cemented that you are indeed the mayor.
Sure.
People are supporting you. What was that inauguration like for you?
You know, I mean, 2 years ago, I think people did think, oh, this was a total accident. You know, like she was only 26 years old. What can she do? I'm definitely proud to sit here and say that I certainly proved all the pundits wrong. But it was such an emotional day. It was so great to have my parents there. My dad swore me in. My 2 grandmothers were there up on stage with me. My mom's mom, she's 90 years old, and my dad's mom, she's 81. And so it was really, really emotional for us.
And your dad, Tim Stewart, a former mayor of New Britain, so you have the ties there?
We actually had almost all of the former mayors of New Britain in attendance too. Lucian Pavlak, Billy Mack, Don DeFranco was there as well. So,
what do they say to you when they come and see you? Because these are older people, older guys. What do they say to you when they see what you've done?
You know, it's always welcoming to receive advice from those who have done it before. And you know, while we may not agree on everything, it's nice that I have people that I can turn to who have been in my position, who have been under the same stress load, in the same situations, to say, hey, you know, what would you do if you were in my seat? And it's nice, not just my dad, but you know, William McNamara. He was the mayor, Democratic mayor of New Britain for oh my gosh, how many? 15 years.
And he
almost?
endorsed you, I think. Didn't he endorse you?
He did, yeah. But I welcome their wealth of knowledge too.
What's the best advice you received so far, whether it's from the former mayors or from Joe Blow on the street? What's the best advice you received?
The best advice I received, always smile even when you're frowning on the inside.
Now, speaking of the Rockettes, Let's talk about the Rockettes.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great.
So let's segue to the next segment, right? You're in office 2 years ago, right? You're 26, and people say, my God, this is good for the city. This young person's in there, and within a few weeks, the Rockettes bolt the city, and some people say, aha, there we go. She's too young.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Rockettes, and again, you have an answer now to that, but your thoughts on what went down when the Rockettes bolted for Hartford.
Yeah.
You now have a new team coming in, the Bees, but walk us through the emotions of being a new mayor with all the trepidation and having sort of a signature franchise bolt on you that way.
Oh God, I mean that was a shoot right to the gut. No doubt.
And Rockettes are a baseball team. I haven't mentioned that for people who they can see for the video. Never mind, in case folks don't know. But
yeah, that was certainly not expected. There had been a lot of rumors about the Rockettes potentially leaving and looking for another town to move into, and every time I heard one of those rumors, I asked them, and I 3 or 4 times I said, listen guys, I'm hearing that you're going to be leaving. Is this true? No, Mayor, not true at all. Up until the night before they had that press conference in Hartford, were they telling me, no, we're just exploring our options, we're not leaving. So for me to kind of be blindsided by it while I was watching with the rest of the state as they're making the announcement on the front steps of Hartford City Hall, you feel these, definitely anger, but betrayal too. And it's okay to be honest with me. It's even if you're going to tell someone something that they don't want to hear, it's better to let them know and be honest than to have them blindsided with it.
In hindsight, was there an issue with transition? Because there's some stories that came out post that had said, hey, there's some emails where they were dissatisfied with the drainage. They had some issues with parking.
Yeah.
There's been some emails with the previous administration that they expressed some dissatisfaction. So should you have been up to speed? Should someone have prepped you and said, hey, just FYI, we're having some issues here? Was there a when you left, when you came in, did your predecessor, was there a transition meeting, or was it sort of, here you go, here's the keys, and adios?
No, it was, here you go, goodbye. We're going to shred everything on the way out. But, even when we met with our Parks Department and I had said to them, are there any concerns on the field? We've put over $700,000 into that field and into the stadium in the last 2 years alone, just making routine upgrades, making sure the field is up to par, the most important part, the drainage, the irrigation lines.
Pro athletes.
Yeah, and we're proactive about maintaining that. I think this decision for the Rockettes to leave was made much long before I even existed as mayor. They just didn't want to say anything. And to each their own. Best of luck to them. We're moving on. We've got the New Britain Bees that are coming in.
Talk about that one. The Bees are in. When are they coming? The Bees sort of a double entendre. The B-E-E-S, but the New Britain, the Bees, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of fun with that. So
it is a lot. So we're the NBs from NB from New Britain. But there's a story behind it too. On our city seal has a beehive on it, and our city slogan is in Latin, and it reads, "Industry fills the hive and enjoys the honey."
Oh,
so there's a little history behind that.
A little bit of symmetry in there.
Yeah,
huh? All right.
But they're with the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. So when the Rockettes announced they were leaving, I knew that I needed to try to find another tenant and find one quickly. There were about 3 or 4 different leagues that approached me, and we found the Atlantic League actually through Mayor Bill Finch from Bridgeport, because they also are the owners of the Bridgeport Bluefish.
Okay.
So we met. It took them quite a few months for me to get them to come up.
You locked them down. So you had a stadium, and then the stadium also performed. You average about 6,000 a game or so, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it was one of the better run minor league baseball teams around.
Built-in fan base, and those fans are still going to come to see the Bees. I know it for sure. They've already been selling season tickets. Their website's up. They're ready. We're really excited.
You have Costco's coming in. We have about 30 seconds left in this segment. You have Costco's coming in. You have some housing development going on. You have a $35 million housing project going on. So you have a new baseball team.
Yep.
You've got Costco's. You got some housing development.
Yeah.
I want to talk about transition. When you came in at 26, you were living with a roommate. And you had some college debt. Now, how's that going? We'll get into your personal life. Get all personal on you. How's that changed for you? Because when you first got in there, right, you had a roommate. Here you are, the mayor of the city, you had a roommate, because that was real.
I still do.
You still do.
I bought my first house. I have bought my first house in the last 2 years, but my roommate came with me to help me pay the mortgage. Are you kidding me? I'm not a dummy. I know.
So you're still pragmatic with the finances, right?
Oh,
that's real life, right? You have student loans to pay, and you have to be realistic out there, right?
Absolutely. The student loans are paid off now.
And that's good. But that makes you real to a lot of people, right? I'm sure when you go out there and people connect with you, you're young, you have the energy, but you can connect with student loans, you connect with having to find a roommate. Those are real things, particularly when you're the chief executive of the city.
I'm no different than anybody else, trying to make a living, trying to make ends meet. And let me tell you something, hey, I have my own struggles, but we won't talk about those here.
why not? No. Hardest challenge. How about personal life? New York Times did a story and said, it's tough when you're 28 and you're the mayor. You know, some people get intimidated, right? You meet a guy somewhere and tell him you're mayor, and sometimes that kind of spooks them, right?
I know. I told the New York Times the story about when I was at a bar one night and this guy comes up and talking to me, and he was a good-looking guy too, so I got all excited. And he asked, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Oh, I hate that question because I always think I should lie and say I'm a teacher or a nurse or something." So I told him what I did, and he looked at me and he said, "Have a good night." He walked away. I said, "All right, you know what? It is what it is."
The life and times of Erin Stewart, right?
Someday.
All right, we're going to take a break and talk about your vision for the city.
Sure.
We'll be back, folks, with Erin Stewart, Republican. She helped lead a remarkable political power shift in New Britain. What will that mean, though, for the hard-hitting city? Don't go away. Remember, catch our show online 24/7, fox61.com/Stan. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, too. Do not even think about going away.
This isn't a 2-year type of thing. It's going to take a lot longer for me to get New Britain where I think it's going to be. Anything for the future, I'm not going to rule it out. I never expected to be mayor. Who knows what the world has in store for me?
All right, welcome back to the show. Folks, at 28, New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart, the youngest female mayor in the country and the youngest in the state. She helped to lead a remarkable political power shift in the city where registered Democrats are outnumbered or they outnumber GOP by 6-1. So you have a GOP power surge in a Democratic city. Your soundbite here. What's the future hold for you? 28, two-term mayor, Republican power surge. What's the future? Have you thought about it?
Yes and no, but everyone likes to plan my future for me.
Well, what are they saying
everyone
about
has
you?
these grandiose plans.
What are some of the big plans they have for you?
Everyone thinks that I'm running for Congress.
Yeah, are you?
Which, no.
All right.
No.
Okay.
Right now, listen, I've just gotten reelected to my second term.
Right.
I know I have so much more work to do for the city of New Britain. And you know what? When I ran for mayor, my passion was in it 110%. That's what I wanted to do. And when I feel like that about another office, if that's the case, then I'm going to go for it. But right now, I know I have so much work to do. 2 years is only 2 years, a mayoral term. You know, I'm thinking I definitely need another 2, and then maybe another after that to kind of get my vision where it needs to be and get the city on a good, solid path. So we'll see. You know,
now, you think it'll be public service? When indeed, at some point, the run ends, right? It's a 2-year term.
You have a shelf life in politics.
Right, exactly.
You're not around forever, and I understand that. And so you have to know when to say quit.
And you think you'll know when it's time to? We're talking way ahead of ourselves here, but right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So let's talk about the agenda.
Let's face it. You know, you can make more money in the private sector. Anyway,
you can. That's true. You can with your billionaire's resume. So what happens down the road? The governor's seat opens up, and they're looking around. They're saying, "Wait a minute. What about this young person over there in New Britain?"
I don't know.
Never say no in politics, right?
I never say never. But there's another mayoral election before then. So governor is 2018, right? So 2017 will be my next mayoral term. So
you never know, right?
You never know.
Now, speaking of terms, a 2-year term in New Britain, should it be 4 years? It seems to me that one of the issues you have that you really can't set your feet and lead because every year you're thinking about running for re-election.
And I look at the last 2 years, and a lot of what I had done was cleaning up what was wrong, you know, the mess that was there before. But you have to.
And the mess was you had debt issues, tax issues. Outline the mess for us.
$30 million in operating debt in the city budget the first year I took over. That engulfed all of my time trying to figure out how to fix that. Where are we going to cut? You know, who are we going to lay off? Can we lay off anyone? Because our staff was just so dwindled as it was, and just trying to manage how are we going to pay that down. Our bonded debt is more than our annual operating budget, which is a red flag through and through. Our credit rating was in the tank, for lack of a better term.
Right.
You know, they were about to downgrade us to junk status, so we wouldn't have been able to bond any projects. So I worked really hard in that first year, just trying to right the ship financially, which we did. You know, and just last month we announced that we are now operating with a $7.8 million surplus.
I saw that. So you have a go from debt to surplus.
Yep.
Now some folks say, wait a second, she overtaxed the people. The only way you have a surplus, you had to overtax it. So while you're saying you took care of the debt, some folks are saying, well, wait a second, were folks overtaxed here?
Yeah, New Britain has an ordinance on the books that requires us to maintain 5% of our annual budget in a rainy day fund and a reserve fund. We've had $0 in that account for the last 4 or 5 years. So if we were to equate 5% of our annual budget, that would be about $11 million. So to have just under $8 million in there is a great step towards meeting our own laws and our own ordinances.
You had to build that cushion. You had to build that rainy day fund. It had to happen.
And you know, worst case scenario, you never know what's going to happen. You know, what if we have some type of you know, a tornado rips through Main Street and we don't have the capital to pay to fix and house people? You never know what can happen, and it's good to be prepared.
Let's talk about the New Britain agenda. 4 bullet points of where you have to go.
Sure.
Let's talk first about business development. You brought in Costco. You're doing some things. Talk more about what's the appeal of the hard-hitting New Britain. How do you attract businesses to a city known to have struggles? What's the appeal?
We have been working so hard on our economic development front, and it is showing through and through. We've got Costco coming in. We've got private developers coming in. It's not just that the old Landers Ferry and Clark factory building. It's going to be a $35 million private investment to transform that building into luxury condominiums. Right off the highway, access to CT Fast Track. We've used CT Fast Track as an opportunity for a lot of growth in the city, and we're only going to continue to do that. We were seeing our Berkowitz building. This was an eyesore on the top of Broad Street, which is our gem, Little Poland. It was this big, ugly, blighted building, and we have a private developer that's coming in now too. They didn't just buy that building; they bought the whole corner. So they're going to revamp that building into housing and first floor retail, and they're going to build 2 subsequent buildings as well, and kind of connect the whole street together. There's just a renewed interest. Look, I've got amazing staff in our economic development and the Chamber of Commerce as well. We meet with prospective business owners, put everybody at the table. What are you looking to do? How much space are you looking for? You know, what's your price range? We're here to help you out.
Yeah, about 30 seconds. Schools.
Schools.
New superintendent has to be hired soon, right? You were a former school board member.
That's where I started.
Right? Schools have struggled for a long time there.
Yeah.
Lack of resources is a big issue, among others, right? What do you do to get the schools going right?
You know, we're new superintendent search, first and foremost. We will have a new superintendent by the summertime. So excited. We're just getting together with our community members now to find out what do they want to see in their next superintendent. I personally think that we have that talent already in the district, but we'll see what the panel decides and what they pick from. There's a lot of opportunity in our schools. We catch a bad rep, but we got a lot of great things that go on too.
My pet peeve in New Britain, I have ties there, you know, blight.
I know.
Blight.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do about blight? You have a lot of some property owners don't take care of their building. It's counterproductive to your entire vision. What do you do about landlords who aren't taking care of their buildings?
We're getting ready for a complete overhaul of our Clean and Lean program, which means if you don't clean your building, we're going to come and do it for you, bill you, and collect interest on it too, to give you some incentive to take care of your property. But we're also working with our neighborhood revitalization zones to target chronically blighted properties and really go after those owners. So
taxes, can you hold the line on taxes now? Increased last year, you think you'll be able to hold the line?
We actually held the line last year. We increased 2 years ago. Last year we held the line. There was no increase. I'm hoping for the same thing this year. If we do see anything, it's going to be a big spike in our debt service payments, which will make it a little bit difficult for us. However, if we get to a point where we just incrementally go up by just a little bit instead of all at once, I think we'll be in a better place financially. But we got to get people used to that.
Erin Stewart, Mayor of New Britain, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks very
much. When
much.
we come back, we'll talk with Adrian Cochran, President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Hartford. Student protests at Missouri and Yale about race issues are creating quite a stir and resulting in changes. We'll get her thoughts. Don't go away.